but it's more an issue, a battle between the haves and the have-nots, where you have people who have land, who have vast spaces of land, who some believe they are not sharing this piece of land.
No, absolutely. But absolutely. I mean, there is absolutely no question that there's land hunger for human settlement, for building the industries, because it's not just about housing. You've got to build houses, but you've got to think about where people are going to work. So you need an integrated human settlement program. And this is exactly what we are doing. In the south, you're putting up a huge city there. It's called Savannah City. In Ekurhuleni, you're putting a massive city, 30,000 human settlement dwellings with commercial centers, plus a potential erection of a university there. 30,000. This is massive investment that the provincial government is doing. We need our people to work with the provincial government on the plans that we're having. Maybe we are not communicating effectively enough. And this is the message that I want to drive to the people of Gauteng, including those that have just arrived in the province, including the old man who is born and has lived in Alexandra for the rest of his life and doesn't have a house. This is the person that I want to talk to. I want to talk to the people of Alexandra to say that you possess land in the middle of opulent Sandton. You actually have assets, right? But you need to turn this asset called Alexandra into capital, into something that can become of value to yourself.
But it's too populated to even get to that. But just quickly, and actually speaking about Alexandra, the flooding that has affected the province. Just quickly, you've gone out to east of Pretoria today. Just quickly tell us what your assessment has been and what happens now.
I'll come to the floods. Sandton is growing, right? The Sandton development is occupying the space. We need to do the same in Alexandra. We need to begin to think out of the box. Put up 15, 20-story buildings so that people can live next to the economic activities. And this is the paradigm shift that I'm talking about. The issues of floods mainly affect people that have moved illegally into areas that they're supposed not to be occupying. I'm from Mamelodi this morning. I've been in Extension 11. I've been in Extension 21, 25. People have literally moved inside the river, right? And I have humbly asked those people to get out of that place because it is a disaster in waiting. And there are criminals that are driving people. They are selling pieces of land. They tell them, give me 300 rand, I'll get you a place to stay.
And what's your department doing about that?
Obviously, we've made a court application, because the Constitution says we cannot arbitrarily move people out of where they are. All what I can do is to appeal to them to move out of the river. But we've made a court application.
So there's a court application as it stands right now to
get the people, so that we can evict those people out of the place that is very dangerous for them. Now, this is a serious situation that we find ourselves in within the confinement of the Constitution and the laws that governs our country.
ANC National Spokesperson Pule Mabe also weighed in on the land invasion in Gauteng.
We have already addressed the question of land. We have said that even when we proposed the expropriation of land without compensation, of which the Constitutional Review Committee is deceased with the matter, we said such should happen under climates of greater responsibility. It is quite unfortunate, and we're urging all our people to make sure that in whatever actions they undertake, such actions should be lawful. Because if we recognize the prescripts of the law, we are in a better position to achieve our overall objectives of making sure that land is ultimately expropriated without compensation. But if we do not, we make such attempts that are supposed to be undertaken within the prescripts and framework of the law a little bit onerous and difficult.
Now, since the EFF has already made it no secret at all that they were responsible or being instrumental in the illegal land invasions, particularly in the Midrand and Waterfall area, what sort of action will be imposed on the EFF?
Well, you will know that we are a political party. We do not necessarily impose or take actions against political parties. They are bodies that are apportioned with dealing with instances of illegality and all of that. And I'm sure what the president of the ANC has addressed previously when we went to the Oliphant Road Bosch area was to urge the community to do things in the manner that is legal and all of that. so that if there are instances or cases where people are blatantly acting in an illegal manner, law enforcement agencies do get closer to such situations and make sure that we cap instances where we find these things happening in a manner that it even undermines the process that is already underway in Parliament.
Now, Upule, let's talk about Cyril Ramaphosa amending the regulations of the state capture inquiry. I mean, one blatant red flag is the person put in charge of the purse strings of this particular commission. And we all know that the Minister of Justice, Michael Masuta, was quite instrumental in negotiating the settlement of former NPA Chief Nxasana at an exorbitant exit package. So talk us through that.
Well, without necessarily going deeper into the details, you will know that when both AfriForum and the Helen Suzman Foundation raised concerns, which concerns really related to the teeth that a commission like the State Capture Commission would have to be able to act on the basis of the information provided, the President of the Republic immediately ascended to some of the things, but also ensured that those witnesses that give evidence before the court do not deliberately incriminate themselves.
All right, let's also talk about former President Jacob Zuma's legal fees. Now, generally, government legal issues are handled by a state attorney, and it begs the question then, who took the decision to fund Zuma's private lawyers?
Well, you will accept that the pace before the court as it relates to the matter that involve President Jacob Zuma relates to some of the actions or activities that might have happened when he was well within the state as a member of the Executive Council and ultimately in government at various other levels. So the State Attorneys Act deals with the protection of legal representation of members of the executive at various levels whose commission of whose activities, if they are legal activities or issues brought before the court, relates to the activities when they were in government. So should it be found later on that you were acting on behalf of the state would have had an opportunity, would have had to foot the bill. If it is found by a reputable court of law that you were seen to be acting personally, then at that stage you'll have to deal with the costs. So they are effectively dealing with this in the context of what is contained in the State Attorneys Act.
But then the question is, who made the decision that the state should fund Zuma's private lawyers instead of the state attorney?
Like I have said, that matters like that are clearly expressed within the State Attorneys Act. Of course, that we speak on behalf of the party, and we align ourselves with the statement that the President of the Republic has already made before the National Assembly when he clarified this matter.
Well, fair enough, Pule, but then it appears that the State Attorney's Office was not permitted to agree to pay for the legal fees of a criminal offender to the private lawyers of the defendant's choice. Now, therefore, the decision to pay for Zuma's legal fees is quite unlawful.
Well, I'm sure you and I'm not sure you and I are not necessarily in that state of acting as a court of law, and I'm sure that they are relevant bodies that are portioned with such responsibility, and they will be able to pronounce themselves. Safe to say that the line that has already been pronounced by the President of the Republic in Parliament is one that we align ourselves with.
All right, we know that the ANC leaders are in Cape Town for the ANC NEC. What issues are on the agenda?
Well, the Secretary General, during a doorstep interview yesterday, did brief members of the media that this National Executive Committee is dealing with quite a number of issues, whether it's elections, is the state of the organization in various provinces, is the role of various ANC subcommittees. Generally, it's the way in which the ANC, coming out of the 54th National Conference, continues to manage its own affairs. You will know that the ANC has had numerous special meetings. This is an ordinary National Executive Committee that would have received a political overview by the President, will receive an organizational report and a feedback on various NWC meetings that will have said in the intervening period. We'll also get a report from the elections subcommittee, which also details our performance during the voter registration weekend and the things that we need to be doing going forward.
Well, as South Africa battles with the land question, the issue is not only a problem to South Africa but to the entire SADC region. In Zimbabwe, the land question led to the collapse of the economy, while in Namibia, the debate continues. The land question is an emotive issue, judging from the interview that our foreign editor, Sophie Mokoena, had with the landless people of Namibia.
Sharpening in South Africa with the motion in Parliament on expropriation of land without compensation. And we've come to share our thoughts, our experiences, and compare notes with our colleagues. In Namibia, we're also pushing for the same issue, perhaps not in the same content, but in the same context. One of the things that we are saying in Namibia, for instance, is land